Hey guys, welcome to the Geeks Video Game Review. Today we'll be looking at 2018's first anime game, Gintama Rumble. Now, since it first aired, Gintama has always been an action anime that prioritizes really running away with its jokes than its action. It still is a serious shonen action title that has its somber and emotional scenes, but it has made a name for itself with its numerous gags and parodies. So it may seem weird but totally expected that most Gintama video games are just token spin-offs of the animation itself, such as a 3DS board game and a live simulator. Being the first anime game of 2018 is a big deal as the year promises to be an otaku gamer's dream with big releases around every corner, like Knights of Britannia, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, several Nicalis titles, and of course Dragon Ball FighterZ, with Gintama Rumble setting the tone of what 2K18 is going to be like. First off, let's talk about content. As most anime titles are, Gintama Rumble is a reenactment of a stretch of the anime's timeline. Rumble, though, covers several of the series' most popular arcs like the Benizakura arc and the Farewell Shingumi arc, which is a nice send-off to the anime where you can dip your feet into the pools of nostalgia one last time and relive the series' most iconic moments, or in my case, experience them for the very first time. There is a wide selection of playable characters, mostly fan favorites, but in the spirit of the anime, a lot of joke characters made it in as well in the form of assists. As an homage, there are a lot of cutscenes and sequences from the anime. I am kinda disappointed though that the cutscenes are just screenshots and not the actual clips, but they do make it up with in-game reenactments which are hype AF, and really got me into it despite not being a fan to begin with. Gameplay-wise, Gintama Rumble is a Muso game. Hack and slash through a fog of bodies to your heart's content. It's a grandiose display of satisfyingly widely destructive action, fancied up in custom combos. Command strings and special attacks can be cancelled into each other, which can result into an endless combo mayhem, something to satisfy the inner aggressor in everyone as well as finding ways to tickle your funny bone with the craziest, funniest, and most random attacks. Like in most Musa games, once you fill up a meter, you can enter a special state called Awakening, where you become stronger and gain access to a special animated finisher called Awakening Rumble. In a special Gintama flavor, each of them looks like this though. It's a really nice touch, but a glaring flaw would of course be that the shots are in a 4:3 aspect ratio, which looks weird in an otherwise widescreen set game. Now I can understand this since the anime has been around for quite some time, way before HD settings became a norm and that remastering a lot of scenes would take a lot of effort, but it just looks a lot weird because other parts of the game that use cutscenes as well are in a full widescreen format, so you just gotta ask, what gives? One thing I like about Gintama Rumble is that even though it's a Muso game, there is still a lot of one-on-one battles. These are usually reserved for boss battles, but it still is refreshing to fight someone where you don't have a billion creeps fogging in between. And once you finish a chapter along with its achievements, you get to unlock its side story which lets you play that same chapter in the perspective of a different hero, giving it more depth and replay value. Another fun thing about the gameplay is the Gintama Pachinko, which is a random roulette that appears every time you fulfill certain conditions in battle. This will grant you random effects such as attack up, full health heal, enter awakening immediately, or just funny stuff that screws you over like pixelating the entire screen for a while. The most notable effect being this. Yep, the game is overflowing with parodies like this, most notably references about Dragon Ball, being self-aware that their releases are only 1 week apart. Outside of battle, you can customize your characters to an extent, like changing their costumes, assigning orbs for assists, and managing their stats, affirming that this is a grind-heavy game. Now I have to admit that it was hard getting into the game as you start with the most basic of combos and noobish of stats, and you only level up after successfully finishing a chapter. It took me about 30 minutes to get through the first stage alone. Now, maybe I'm just a noob, or maybe it was really set to a slightly steep entry. I don't know. The point is, the game really requires some dedication to get through because you have to work with going back to square one each time a new character is introduced. The difficulty levels scale as each chapter progresses, but new characters are always introduced at level 1. Some may like the challenge for some added replayability, some may find it a turn-off, but after getting frustrated for the first few hours, I realized the setup is kinda justified for you to play through everything. Luckily enough, the game has more modes for you to play outside of story mode. You have free battle which lets you replay completed chapters with any character you have already unlocked. This is where you will mostly be grinding and leveling your characters and how you will be completing most achievements and where you can create some dream fights that never happened in the anime. There is also a third mode called Kabukicho Ultimate Rumble. The content for this is original and exclusive to this game. The plot though is rather shallow and is more of a light narrative that justifies what you have to do, which is be the first character to gather 12 orbs by defeating bosses. First one to do so gets a wish, and yeah, they are aware that it's also not a Dragon Ball reference. All in all, Gintama Rumble is a super fun action anime game, especially if you're a long-time fan or one just looking to get into the series. There is a lot of fan service to keep the mood up through hours of hacking and slashing. It could get kinda repetitive along the way, so it's not really a game you'd want to play in one long session. An hour or two every day at most, just to keep the lifespan going. Now the only real problem I have with Gintama Rumble is that it feels like they could have gone all the way with the production of this game, being a last tribute to the series, but for some reason held back. With the screenshot cutscenes, the 43 inserts, generic trophy list, it just feels like they could have done a lot more but didn't. But otherwise, this is probably the best looking anime game next to Fighter Z so far. It actually got me interested into seeing the anime or reading the manga for the very first time. So yeah, this gets a big thumbs up from us here in the Geeks. How do you feel about the game? Like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let us know.